Hey Kristen, how are you over the Dixon today?
I'm doing great. How are you at the Metal Museum?
We're great. Actually, I've been doing a lot of research about how all the nature on the grounds relates to our permanent collection. So far, I've looked at a lot of different plants, but my favorite are the trees.
That's awesome. Did you know that the Dixon is a level 4 arboretum?
I didn't. What does that mean?
An arboretum is just a place that grows a lot of different types of trees. And at the Dixon, we have over 100 species. In fact, we have a really cool object that I think you'd like to look at. Do you want to meet me at the Dixon and take a look?
That sounds great. I'll grab my notebook and my bag and I'll be right over.
All right, see you soon. Hi friends, we are here at the Dixon Gallery and Gardens, and behind me is our elm tree. So out of the hundreds and hundreds of trees that we have here at the Dixon, this is the only elm tree we have. He's so special that he has a nickname. We call him Elmer. So this is actually a cutting from Elmer, and it's one of his branches, and when we look at it, we can learn a lot about the tree. The study of tree rings is called dendrochronology. Now, elm trees are pretty rare, and a lot of them were lost to a disease called the Dutch elm disease. This was a disease that was spread by beetles, and so the beetles would eat the bark from tree to tree, spreading that disease, and it killed over 40 million elm trees in America. But luckily, scientists were able to come up with a medication to prevent them from getting that disease. So to keep Elmer happy and healthy, we have to give him an injection every single year. Just like if you or I were to go to the doctor to get an injection to keep us from getting sick, that's what we do to Elmer. So this branch can tell us a little bit more about the history of Elmer. If this were from his trunk, it could tell us about how old Elmer was. We would start in the middle and we would count the rings out to the outside edge, and it could give us an approximate age. But it can still tell us more about the weather and things that he's been through in his life. So if a ring is really wide, that means that Elmer grew a lot that year. It means he got enough water and enough sun, and he grew quite a bit. But if it's narrow, that means that he didn't get as much of what he needed. It might have been a drought, or he might have gotten too much rain that year and he didn't grow as much. If there's a dark spot on the wood, that is called a scar. And just like if you or I were to get a scar, it means something bad happened. It might have been an infestation of insects, or even a lightning strike on some trees. A lot of those trees will go on to grow and heal, but you can look back and see their history. So when scientists study dendrochronology, they can learn a lot about trees, of course, but also about weather and climate changes too. So I hope you learned something today when we study dendrochronology. So if you're as excited about the idea of dendrochronology as I am, I've got a project for you. You can check the description box and it will show you how to make this painting that explores your own personal history in the style of tree rings.
Wow, Kristen, that was amazing. You know, that really reminds me of a piece of art we have over at the Metal Museum. Do you want to come and see it?
I'd love to.
Awesome. I'll meet you at the gates.
See you there.
This is Cosette Phillips's The Hollow Land. Phillips made this piece while she was an artist in residence here at the Metal Museum from 2014 to 2015. This piece is really special because it was cast using a tree on the museum grounds. Cosette uses her work to talk about humanity's relationship with nature. She uses industrial processes to talk about humanity's impact on the natural world. This piece is made of concrete, bands of steel, and aluminum that represent the tree's rings, and if you look really close, it's encased in a band of pewter tree bark cast from a tree on the museum grounds. These industrial materials create a contrast within the work. Cosette says, "The tension between material and form speaks to the perpetual transformation of our environments, emphasizing that nothing is static or fixed, not the buildings or the trees." Inspired by this piece, I created a project that you can do at home. You can find the link to this tutorial down in the description box.
Wow, that was so much fun. Thank you for sharing with me. I really enjoyed learning about Cosette Phillips.
And I loved learning about trees at Dixon. I really hope that everyone will get a chance to come to our institutions and learn about all the amazing things that we learned about.
And just a reminder, there is a link to a PDF in the description box, and you can do an activity made by both the Dixon Gallery and Gardens and the Metal Museum.
We hope you guys had an amazing time, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, bye!